G'day everybody, my name is Elliot Waters and you're listening to the Dysregulated Podcast. As always, thank you for tuning in. If you're enjoying the show, feel free to like, subscribe, give the show a great rating for the algorithm, and you can share the show around with your mates. And you can follow me on Instagram at elliot.t.waters. Alright, so coming to the end of my 2 weeks of annual leave. I'm sorry I didn't do as many episodes during my annual leave as I was planning. But at the same time, it's been a good 2 weeks and it's been productive as well. So that was the whole point. I needed to get back on top. And that, I'm talking basic fundamentals. I'm talking, get back on top with grocery shopping, get back on top with getting the washing done and the dishes and cleaning my room, cleaning my car, cleaning my subconscious, all that sort of stuff. And the good news is, for the most part, all that got ticked off. What didn't get ticked off, though, which is ticking me off, is the fact that the gym and exercising in general, running, wasn't a huge feature. It was the first couple of days of the fortnight, but then it sort of tailed off a bit at the end, which is really frustrating. And of course, that's the bit that I'm focusing on. But I'm trying not to because there's been some great wins, and I want to tell you all about it. And I also want to say, I think a big part, there's two reasons I think why the 2 weeks were successful as far as getting stuff done. One was because I did have a bit of a plan and I could actually visualize me doing these things. I could, I was imagining, when I clean the room, it will be like this, not even consciously necessarily, just, even subconsciously just looking around going, all right, we know that this is a job that needs doing, get ready. And when the time's right, we will. And the time was right when I had my annual leave. So my room is clean. Unbelievable. My car is clean. Now, this is huge. This is earth-shattering for Elliot. This is massive. I could count, I reckon, on one hand how many times I've had both the room and the car cleaned. Unbelievable. And they're both clean. And they were a while ago, like a week and a bit ago, towards the start of the annual leave, and I've been able to maintain it. That's so not like me, but hopefully like me moving forward. That's because it is one thing to do the job, but then you got to do the, you got to maintain your work, and that's the bit that just, it's so boring. And I've said it before about ADHD, but I'm a firm believer that ADHD is very much a disorder of boredom. And that's the thing, there's not much dopamine flying around when I clean there is because of Vyvanse, thank you very much. But before that, there was no real dopamine floating around saying, encouraging me to do this job. This is a good job, Elliot. Yes, it's a sacrifice of your time and energy, but having a clean room equals a cleaner future. And, before the meds, before I got back on Vyvanse, that wasn't happening. Now, look, I don't want to put everything down to the medication because, like I said, I have had some routines, some structure around what I was doing, and I also was visualizing actually getting this stuff done so I could, I could imagine it, I could feel it, and then I could go for it. But there's no two ways about it. The Vyvanse has flicked the switch, as I knew it would because, of course, I've been on it before. When I manage it properly, which for the most part I do, it is a very, very good tool indeed. Now, I couldn't have done this with just Vyvanse. I needed to get that structure going. I needed to get the 2 weeks off from work so I could really focus and concentrate. This was a very premeditated working annual leave. But the Vyvanse is just such a good tool for this sort of stuff. When I'm like before. So, okay, parents are, I can't believe it, parents. Anyway, we know I live at home. I'll be moving out soon. So the parents are away on holidays, right? So I've been in charge of the whole house and the cat. So the good news is the cat, she's coped, she's all right, she survived. I remember to feed her and do all that sort of stuff. But the house is tidy too. There's been times in the past where, my parents have come home from being a week away and the place looks like a bomb's hit it. And let me tell you right now, there is no room for argument. It is beautiful out there. Out there, that place, out in the family room, kitchen, it's all beautiful. So anyway, this might sound silly and maybe it is for a 34-year-old, but unfortunately that's sort of the cards I've been dealt with. And, this is a test of how things are going and keeping this joint nice and tidy and clean. And, I've done all my washing, all of it, like loads after loads of washing. like so much. It's unbelievable how many loads I did, how often I was out on the clothesline, putting stuff up, taking stuff down. It was just constant for the 2 weeks, it felt like. But it's such a relief that it's done, and that this doesn't happen. This usually does not happen. So I can only say thank you to the Vyvanse, and thank you to me who thought ahead and thought, hey, let's get a couple of weeks, let's get back on top of things, let's get that routine going, then we can launch from there. Great work, Elliot, a masterstroke, especially just before Christmas, and then we're ready to launch into the new year. So there you go. The only thing that I really need to work on now, and that's what I'm going to do today, is the one thing I haven't really wanted to do. Because there's a lot of anxiety around it, there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of expectations, and that is my resume. So I haven't been able to sit down and work on the resume to the capacity I wish I could. So today I'm going to try and do that. I've got everything planned. I'm going to the university to do it because it's a better environment. Got the Vyvanse ready to go. It's you got to do these things. You got to sort of hack the system to get yourself across the line. That's what I've had to do. Even today, like I'm wearing this might sound silly as well, but anyway, this is me. So I've been wearing my University of Newcastle lanyard with my staff card on it, photo ID card. And the reason I'm doing it is not because I'm showing off because I work at the university, but it's because when I've got this thing on, and it's on right now, when I've got this thing on, I just feel like I'm more professional and I'm more in the zone to do these sorts of things, and really lock in on whatever task that I'm trying to do that might be related to career or jobs or finances, anything like that. If I've got the lanyard on, can you believe it? I feel like I'm able to engage in those sorts of activities a lot better. I don't know if it's like fake it till you make it. You know how if you're feeling, if you smile, even if you're unhappy, if you smile, you can't help but get a little bit of serotonin sort of pops in. I don't know, maybe wearing the lanyard gives me a bit of dopamine and it does the same thing. I'm sort of tricking my system to fire out a bit of dopamine because it thinks when we've got that thing on that we're doing stuff. But that's the thing. Usually when I wear the lanyard, I am. So there you go. I don't know if neurotypical people go through this sort of stuff. I don't know if you got to hack your system like this, but that's what I've got to do. Got to do it every day. So what wasn't achieved was the exercise. So the exercise has got to come. The exercise has got to come next. It's just as important as the resume. ADHD symptoms can be not relieved completely, but definitely, subsided with exercise for sure. Especially, I found the gym definitely. But when I used to run a lot and do long runs, like 2-3 hours, that's when I used to find that my attention span seemed to be better. And I always ran without headphones, and I just try and listen to my feet and go. But I definitely think it's only, I don't have an experiment and results to back this up, but from my own anecdotal evidence, I found that when I'm doing these long runs, my ADHD tends to calm down a bit, which is pretty cool. But the gym as well, gym's important too, and it's a great opportunity for some mindfulness and really connect to the body and sort of detach from the mind a little bit and really anchor yourself in the moment. Like exercising is just so good across the board. Obviously the physical gains as well. It's just so important, but because it's so important and monumental, my brain likes to, tries to self-destruct. So because this is so important and significant and I should be doing it, my brain puts a lot of anxiety around it, a lot of expectations. And unfortunately, I just haven't been able to push them aside properly to keep on running, to keep on going to the gym. But that's a task that is ongoing, but I knew that would probably happen. So it's not all bad. It's, again, I'm visualizing it. I've got everything sorted. All my gym stuff's in the car, so I don't have to think. It's just all there. My running shoes are in the car, so it's all there. I don't have to think too much. I just know it's there. And if I do get the little bit of inspiration, there's not many blocks in front of me and getting the equipment going and getting in there and doing the exercise. Another way to hack the brain. I should do a bit of an ADHD hack the brain episode, maybe. That might be coming. This one is purely me just rambling on, but quite excited that I've got some stuff done. I'm very proud of myself. It's really good. One other thing I've done, I have covered Newcastle in posters for the podcast. Every Telegraph poll has been worn. There is a poster coming. I put up like 150 of them. I laminated them all. It took me hours, printed them off, designed these posters. There's a bit of work's gone into them. The laminating just, talk about mindfulness. I've actually bought 2 laminators so I can have 2 going, and that made it a lot easier. But man, there's like 150 posters up around Newcastle, and I'm telling you, with the way that my autism and fixations on this has been lately, there's going to be more coming. So watch out, Newy. And if you're listening to the show for the first time because of the posters, feel free to let me know on Instagram at elliot.t.waters, because I'd love to know if these posters are actually doing anything besides annoying the hell out of everybody. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for the support, and more posters are coming. All right, so that's probably about it for me for now. I've just got my Google Calendar up, and I've got just having a look at a few things that are coming up because, yes, I'm using my Google Calendar, and it's not as stressful and scary when I open it frequently. I've discovered, unbelievable, that it gets the most anxiety response around it, this Google Calendar, when I don't look at it and ignore it. That's when the real scary start. So I'm trying to look at this Google Calendar multiple times every day just to make sure I know what's going on. So that's another bit of good news. Unfortunately, though, to contrast this, I heard a story today which has not been so positive. And this is the flip side of ADHD. So a friend of mine has ADHD, but it isn't being treated, which I always thought was suspicious because ADHD is a developmental disorder. It's not like, the sniffles. This stuff can, well, I don't want to overstate it, but it can ruin lives. And unfortunately, my friend has lost their job today. And as far as I'm concerned, with what evidence I know, it's a direct consequence of my friend's ADHD not being managed. And this is not uncommon. People with ADHD struggle with work all the time. Like, we know this. And that's a big part of why it's so important to get treatment. So I'm hoping, you want something good to come out of this. And I'm hoping for my friend, the good thing is that this is going to flick the switch and the doctors are going to say, holy geez, this ADHD stuff is affecting you socioeconomically. You've just lost a job and whatever other symptoms and behaviours there are that are related. But, this is probably enough. Losing the job would be enough, I'm sure. If you're losing work over your mental illnesses, well, then either it's not being treated at all or it's not being treated good enough, and we need to come up with a different way to go about things. So I'm hoping that this will be the catalyst for change. It's really hard losing a job coming up to Christmas. It's pretty, ethically, I don't necessarily agree with it. And I'm not sure how you can let someone go when they've got a diagnosis, when you've got a diagnosis of something. Like, surely there's a way that you would work, even if it's performance managed, whatever. Surely there's a way that you can work through, figure out a way that works, and then, manage it from there. But unfortunately, that opportunity hasn't been given. But speaking of opportunities, I'm so hoping, fingers crossed, that now my friends' doctors will take this seriously and things will improve from here. So hopefully, as my grandma says, everything happens for a reason, Elliot. And if that's true, well, then I'm hoping this is the reason for my friend having to go through this leading up to Christmas, because it's very upsetting for them. And to be honest, I'm pretty pissed off about it myself. But anyway, what we did, I messaged, and we're coming up with a game plan, going to an employment place. We're going to get this ADHD managed. We're going to get back on top of it. That's the plan. But the good news is, from my point of view, I am back sort of on top of my ADHD. It took 2 weeks of annual leave to do it. The best 2 weeks of annual leave I've ever had. I knew I was not going on holidays. This was a working 2 weeks, and it still was. But, working towards this goal of just being a competent human. Like, again, it might sound weird, but seriously, that's what I'm trying to do. Become a decent adult. Not as in morally, ethically, but, my actual behaviours and routines and structures. I've got to get this stuff right because it's been holding me back for too long. But thank goodness, these 2 weeks, I've made the most of it. All right. Thank you, everybody. I waffled a little bit on there, but there was a bit to get through, and I am sort of buzzing because things have been pretty good. So, my subconscious is a bit clearer, which is amazing work. Amazing. Well done, Elliot. Well done, Elliot. All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening again. If you're enjoying the show, feel free to like, subscribe, give the show a great rating, and you can share it around with your mates. And you can follow me on Instagram at elliot.t.waters. And make sure, if you haven't yet, check out the Intake interview series. There's more interviews coming, so get ready. All right, thanks everybody. See you later.